Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Do you know what collective guilt is? And do you know what collective punishment is? Let me give you what collective guilt is. A little definition is when some members of a group do something bad, and some other group calls on all the members of that group, that those a few guys participating in whatever bad thing they do, they are all guilty, and they should be collective punishment, punished for whatever those few did. So that is, let's say you have some short people, let's say 5'5", they do something, and you lump them all together and say all the people below 5'5" are responsible for what those 9 people of the height of 5'5" did. Therefore, they're all guilty of that. And therefore, they are guilty, they should be ashamed, and they are, fair game in being abused. That's basically what it is. That's why we do not have in the Roman law, in our civilization, collective punishment. Other societies had and have collective guilt, collective punishment, which is bad. Why? Because if I commit a crime, you take me to jail after the court procedures, and then you don't take my whole family to court, and you destroy my house as well, because I, one member of the family, committed a crime. That is collective punishment. You punish everybody in the family related to me. Or if you extrapolated a city, if you extrapolated a country, and so on, and you can groups if you want within all this. Well, let me show you how dangerous this is. We have historical examples when we had certain kind of idiots, lumping and generalizing groups as being evil, as being this, of being that, of being, this kind of people. And you know what happened. I can give you an example, negative situation in 1940s. You know exactly what I'm talking about, in 1930s. That was bad, again, lumping a group and pointing out those guys are guilty of something, all of them, children, women, men, adults, old people. And then you obviously punish them based on perceived guilt, and collective guilt. So what do we have here? We have this stupid question asked by some Ukrainian polling company, and please pay attention to the answer. The answer is more telling, obviously, than the question. And here it is. Comes from Ukrainska Pravda. Almost 80% of Ukrainians consider all Russians responsible for war. That the key word in all this is all. 80% of the respondents obviously consider that all Russians bear the responsibility for the war. All includes newborn, all are Russians, all include toddlers, 5-year-olds, children, young adults, old people, all of them mentally sick, normal people, evil people, good people, they all, because there are some that are good, right? But this is supposed to be a sin that covers everything else. Now, do you think that that's accurate? They should be first all. It's 80% of the respondents. Now you make 3, you usually go with a margin of error of 3, right? Let's say 3. So if you go 3, you go to 83, you go to 77. It's a lot. And the article will actually be happy about it. And it's going to use a certain kind of terms to tell us how fantastic the 80%, the number is, the percentage. Let me read the beginning here. The absolute, that's the word, majority of Ukrainians, or 78%, consider all Russian citizens responsible for Russia's military aggression against Ukraine. Absolute majority. So remember when Biden has 30% approval rating or 40% approval rating, how would you call that? Absolute failure? No, that's almost 50%. Remember, that's how this propaganda is promoted. But what was the approval rating for Putin? Wasn't it 78, 80, 83? So we would call that an absolute majority. And you say, see, that's why they're all guilty, because of the approval rating. Okay, well, isn't that democracy supposed to work like that? Yeah, but if it's democracy, that means you're guilty. Okay, but it's all. They said all of them, not 80% that voted for Putin, or they said yes, all of them. That sounds to me like the prerequisite for a tragedy. I can't use the word, but it starts with a G or with an H. Which one you prefer? And it ends with an E, okay? But and one ends with a T. You figured it out. You're smart. So, source: the results of the sociological survey by the International Center for Ukrainian Victory, conducted by Ilko Kucherev Democratic Initiative Foundation and the Center for Political Sociology, published by civil network Opora. At the same time, 57% of the respondents want to see all those who were directly involved in the planning, approval, organization, and commission of war crimes. Yeah, I mean, if you made a crime, you're involved in a crime, obviously you should be punished on both sides. In addition, 95% of respondents expect the state to seek compensation from Russia for damages caused during the war. However, only 40% of the population believes in the possibility of actual receiving reparations. Now, why don't you give this right here, this sentence, send this to Russia and say, hey, Russians, do you know that 95% of Ukrainians expect you to pay if you lose? All right. So, my friends, remember the all thing. That's always the key. Don't speak or don't accept terms like always. I always do this, or I never do this, or all people, or know this, know that. Always leave a little door. That's an advice. Leave a little door unless you really, you're certain that, for instance, if I drop this, I know will always go down. Well, you say, well, not always, Emil, because under certain kind of circumstances or conditions, they would not go down, they would go up. You say, how? Well, let's say you're in an airplane and you go very high, and then at one point the airplane does that. When you drop this one, this is going to go high, up instead of going down. And, that happens. So you see, that's why do not say always, all, and so on. The scary thing here is that the question was asked all Russians. That's dangerous. Remember those guys in 1930s Germany and 1940s said all do. No good. Not good. I'm not saying this would happen, but you see, you can see signs, and the signs are not positive here. And 80% of them said, 78. What was absolute majority? It's an absolute majority. Okay, man, absolute, and they're happy about it. I will be concerned. That means if the Russians lose, those 80% of the people want all the Russians be collectively punished. I wonder how. And from there you got the next step, and no step, because you don't have any more victims to go with, escalate it to the next step. I hope they don't go to that, but it's not Ukrainians per se. If you think that the Ukrainians are the problem, or I don't want to make it about Ukraine, we are doing it. Remember that famous psychological experiment, remember with little shocks that we would kill the other person? Well, look into it. Milgram. It's called Milgram experiment. Look into Milgram with double L, I think, experiment and see how that played. Okay, not good. And those were not Germans or French, or they were Americans. No. All right, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.